KSAC Money 105.5 FM and the Real Estate and Finance Hour with George Chides on Money 2.0.
Welcome back to the Real Estate and Finance Hour. I'm your host, Mortgage Pro George. It's another beautiful day here in the KSAC studio of Money 105.5. This program here is a part of the Money 2.0 series of shows on your Wall Street network and is brought to you by Essex Mortgage. Today, we have some very special guests in our studio. I'd like to introduce them to you now. First, we have Nick Sadek, CEO of Sotheby's International Realty and luxury property legend.
Thank you, George.
Located right here in Roseville, California. We also have Tatiana Bedoya, real estate agent at Sotheby's International Real Estate. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, George, for the invitation.
You know, it's really great to have you both. Over the last few weeks here, we've been talking about the buyer spectrum, beginning with the first-time buyer and moving on to the first-time investor. And now we're ending on the high end of the scale with the luxury property buyer. Mm-hmm. Now, in that time, we've had several guests, such as appraisers and inspectors, to help our first-time home buyers prepare for their first-time purchase experience. And then we've also had property managers and the like that help us, with the first-time investor, what to expect when going into the world of renting. So when it came to time to conclude the series, with the luxury property buyer, I couldn't have imagined, better guests than the two of you. So you guys must be pretty excited about this market that we're in. What do you think?
It's an amazing market right now. Currently, we're seeing a huge migration from the Bay Area and outside the area, and that's kind of fueling our upper-end market right now in the Tri-County area.
And we bring that up a lot on this show because it trickles all the way down to the first-time buyer. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of millennials that are moving here because, especially nowadays, you don't sit behind a desk and you clock in and clock out like you do before. You have a lot of telecommuting jobs, and we were just talking about video conferencing, and you have to dress up from the waist up and those kind of things. And that's the world we live in. So it really allows people to branch out a little bit further. And people, they like the quality of life here in Sacramento. They like what Sacramento area has to offer. So we're getting a lot of those people, and then even the investors. Mm-hmm. The rental market in this area is really, really good. It's really, really thriving, and so a lot of people are looking to buy investment properties out here because you can probably get a lot more for your money or more properties for your money. And the same thing applies at the high end as well. Nick, you're known as the go-to broker for luxury properties here in Sacramento, Placer, and El Dorado County. Your reputation is very well known, and you've remained at the top, as a premier broker since 2010. I know you've been a broker since long before that, almost about 30 years?
Correct. I started in the business back in 1988.
1988. One of the things that one of my goals in the show for today is, I would like to give the listeners who may have heard of you but have never heard you a feel for who you are. Because, let's be honest, amongst the real estate community, as I mentioned, you're a legend. And, and here in Sacramento, we're very proud of our stars. Mm-hmm. I know that LA and the Bay Area have plenty of celebrities, so it's nice when we have, one of our own, What I would like to do is start out by just sharing with our listeners, how'd you start in real estate? I mean, what is it that drove you to real estate in the first place?
Actually, my dad was a developer. I grew up in Carmichael, went to Del Campo High School, and real estate has always been a passion. And I got into it in the late 80s, worked with Great Western Bank, Great Western Real Estate, and just really enjoyed it. But I think it probably it was in 2000, 2002 when I kind of wanted to focus on a niche market, niche area to try and excel and kind of stand out. There was a lot of agents in the business, and I kind of made a conscious decision to get into the luxury market, and I found it a lot easier to kind of concentrate on an area and kind of make the name for yourself, and kind of just had a few lucky breaks. One thing led to another, and it's been a fun business.
I bet, and it's been a wild ride. And since '88, there's been, so you've seen all these
So
up
many
and downs.
cycles.
You've seen
Roller
so many
coaster.
cycles. And I think that, that's a really good point because that's where you kind of separate I hate to use the term the men from the boys, or, there's lots of different metaphors that we can use, but that's what really separates the good from the bad, because, we're all still here and we've seen all these cycles and we managed to work through it and come out well on the other side. And I think that's a really good testament as to who you are as a service provider, and the way we work and the way we treat our clients. I know that one of the things that I've heard about you is that you only deal with full-time agents.
Definitely. I mean, this has to be a full-time career. You're dealing with people's important possessions when they buy a home. So people don't want to be dealing with part-time doctors or part-time professionals. So I really strongly feel that this has to be a full-time career, and people see through that. So you have to have a passion. People want to see that you're excited, you have the knowledge, and you're able to help them out during the transaction.
And the passion is really important, because I mean, if going to work every day, if what you do is not motivating you, it's not getting you up in the morning before your alarm goes off, then you're probably not in the right business.
Right.
Because and if it is truly your passion, then there shouldn't be something else that you're doing. Because if you focus all your energy in one place, you're gonna be more successful. And it was part of one of the things that you said before we broke, is you were talking about you decided to go into this niche of the market because that's exactly what you wanted. Is you wanted to stand out, you wanted to do something different, and you wanted to specialize in something that a lot of people weren't. And I can only imagine that that's luxury real estate market, it's a completely different animal. It's not for everyone. So what are some of the things that you encountered, or when you decided to get into that? I mean, what were some of the obstacles, or the challenges that you may have faced getting into the luxury? Because like I said, it's not for everyone.
It's not, you're correct. But I was lucky to get into it when the market was beginning to slow down. So other agents were actually getting out of it. So I saw an opportunity to be able to get into it when it wasn't as popular, because homes were kind of sitting on the market longer. It was expensive to advertise and to promote and to market certain properties. But this gave me an opportunity to kind of stand out, especially when I was able to sell a few marquee properties, big properties, and then the word got out. Nick was able to sell this particular property.
You mentioned getting a few lucky breaks, and I remember one of the things that my mom, back in the day when you printed on computers, it was one long continuous paper with perforations. And I remember she made this banner, and because I kind of had a reputation for getting lucky ever since I was a kid. But I remember she wrote a quote, and I'll never forget it. And you probably heard this a million times, but luck is for those who are prepared.
Correct.
The reason you found your lucky break is because you were already in there, you were working, and if you're out there every single day, you're ready for the opportunities when they arise. If you don't think about doing something until the opportunity, it's too late. Right. It's too late. So, you have been, very successful since the beginning of your career, and your name is a brand in of itself. So, what made you decide to open an affiliate of Sotheby's International last January 2017, correct?
Correct, yes. No, we honestly, I think it was a blessing to be able to join up with Sotheby's and be able to bring the franchise to this area. I wanted to kind of create something that kind of was bigger than my name, bigger than myself, and be able to have a strong network connection with a brand that is well known nationally and internationally. And since we've launched our office back in 2017, it's like the lights got turned on. We're able to network with clients from outside the country, up and down, the state, and we've just generated a tremendous amount of network opportunities for the agents that are in the office by being affiliated with Sotheby's.
One of the things that we hear from our clients a lot now that we have the Nick Sadek's brand merged with the Sotheby's International Realty brand, they basically tell us, look, every time we hear those two brands, because they're brands by themselves,
right,
we hear professionalism, experience, class, sophistication, which is what our clients are definitely looking for. So, I mean, the merger of both brands is just beautiful for Sacramento.
And it's a recipe that works. I mean, you see large corporations merging all the time for the same reasons, because they're trying to marry two great things,
right,
and become something even greater. Now, Nick, you probably not the first time, definitely not the first time, but you made national news back in 2007 when you sold Eddie Murphy's Granite Bay estate for $6 million. And you also did it in a record time of 30 days. I've always wondered, how did you land that listing?
I think that, like you said, that's when the lucky break came up. I happened to have another listing in the same subdivision, and they decided to interview 3 or 4 different brokers that dealt in the luxury market. I was one of them. Went for an interview. We kind of hit it off. They called me back, and I was able to land the listing.
Wow. So you didn't know him prior.
No.
And that's amazing. That's amazing. But, and that's a true testament of exactly what we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
When people talk to you, that's when they make their decision.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. That's what sells people. And I hate to use the word sell, but I mean, it's true because people, when you're face to face, person to person, or even on the phone, I mean, people can really tell what you're about. And I think that's what gives people the confidence to make that decision, because there's lots of different business decisions that are made based on analytics and numbers and all that kind of stuff. But something as personal as a home where your family's going to live, that's it's so much more personal that, it doesn't even, a lot of those things matter much less than people think.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting. Did you get to meet him personally, or did you just go through his agent? Or?
Correct. I was dealing with their agents and representatives.
Wow. And so, I know he has ties to this area, and so that's what kind of brings him here. But, I've always wondered, since that listing, now I know that listing is going back on the market about 11 years later. What was that listing doing this whole time?
So actually it was purchased by a private investor. They did a lot of fundraisers. It's been kept up in a meticulous condition. We're getting ready to launch it. Actually today
Wow.
is going to be launched for $10 million.
Wow.
And we've already had some inquiries from outside the area. So we're hoping with the exposure and being associated with the Sotheby's brand right now, we're probably going to attract some potential clients from outside the area.
I bet. Oh, I bet you are. And that's really incredible story because first of all, it's a beautiful property. I mean, it's just anybody who has ever seen it or gone online and seen the pictures, it's extraordinary. So I wouldn't have imagined that use, but now that you said that, I think it's perfect.
It's
perfect.
A perfect location.
And it's a perfect location. It's a perfect property for that. And so I can really see that, being used in that manner. And I bet you that he had a lot of success using it in that way.
Correct.
Now, one of the other things here, in December, with Sotheby's, you broke another local record by selling one of the highest recorded property sales in Sacramento for almost $7 million. That was the property was the Royal Crest estate in
Correct,
Granite Bay. And again, you did it in record time of 13 days. That's truly amazing. I mean, when I first heard that, I'll be honest, I fact checked it and I said, that's gotta be, how does that happen? Tell us about this property and its buyer.
It's a unique property, honestly. The previous owner spent about maybe 5 years creating it and building it.
Wow.
I've never seen an amazing property like it. The location, the quality of workmanship. So when we got the listing, we prepared for the first 30 days, kind of getting it on the market. We did professional pictures, drone video, kind of went through the house and kind of touched things up and kind of got it ready. And then as soon as we launched it, within maybe 4 or 5 days, we got a call that a potential buyer was interested.
Already.
So we asked for
great.
We asked for pre-qualifications, and within a few hours, we actually got pre-qualifications.
Wow.
Set up the appointment, and the client, as soon as they saw it, walked in. You could tell that they were interested. And then I think it was either at the end of that day or the next day, we received a full price offer.
Wow. That's truly amazing. It's really refreshing to hear that people are still, it doesn't matter what the price point is, people are still buying because, they trust, they go with you because they trust you, they speak to you and they like you and they trust you, they feel confident with you and they're buying these homes because they walked in and they just fell in love. It doesn't matter if it's, $350,000 or $3,500,000, they walked into the home and said, I want to live here. Or I can see myself living here, or I love this house, and things like that. And so, it really goes back to, work ethic, character, who you are as a person, whether you're honest, whether you can be, respected and integrity and all those things, because those that gets around.
Sure.
Especially in our world, as I was mentioning earlier, this is real estate and lending. It's a small world as it is. And so, your reputation always precedes you. So it's very important. And even a client, say you get a new client, a new listing, even someone who hasn't met you before, but when they talk to you, they feel that.
Correct.
It always comes down to just a personal connection. You want to remain humble in the way that you approach your career, because it's the moment that once you think you've mastered it, that's the beginning of the end.
Yes.
Because once you stop learning, you stop growing. And this is, as we know, especially with the events of the last 10, 15 years, I mean, this market, this is one of those businesses that is always evolving. And you always have to evolve with it, but you have to maintain certain things like integrity. You have to maintain certain things, about your own character, because it really comes across in your business dealings.
Integrity is key, George, now that you're mentioning that, because every time as a realtor working at Nick Sadek's office, when we talk to a client or when we talk to other realtors, they already know, because of the both brands that we have, Nick Sadek's and Sotheby's International Realty, they already know that they're going to go through a world-class experience, through a smooth transaction where the professionalism, I mean, it's there throughout the transaction, and people want pleasant experiences.
They do.
Especially when you're talking about something as valuable as your home, no?
Exactly. And, and one of the things that, on that same topic is that, one of the things that I really like about this industry is that I meet very few people who went to school to do this or set out to do this. Most of the people that we work with, I mean, I've had people who used to be 5-star chefs or, come from all different walks of life. And I think that's really great, because our clients come from all walks of life. And I think that's why we're able to connect with people the way we do, because we're like, hey, I used to do that for a living, or I, did this and that. And so, it really, really helps that, all our coworkers and everybody, in your office, if you went around and asked them, they really come from so many different places. And that really brings a wealth of personality to your brokerage. And I think that's important too, because it's like we were saying, a lot of it is just is so personal that it's nice to be able to match people, together properly. I think it's really important. And you have a lot of agents, and you're actually expanding pretty soon, right? I think you said you're opening another brokerage in
Sacramento, correct. So when we launched in 2017, we had maybe 10 agents. We're up to 39 agents currently in the Roseville office. And we're looking at about opening up another office in Sacramento in about July, August, and hopefully maybe get another good 25 to 39 agents.
That's great. And, that's a sign that you what you're doing is working. Your business model is working, and everybody that has dealt with you, obviously, it's that referral business. I love referrals. It means that I did a great job. There's no better compliment than a referral. And then just the fact that you're growing at the rate that you're growing, it's a really, really good sign that what you're doing is right. And what's that old saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, Tatiana,
Yes.
you have also led a very interesting career. You began as a journalist,
Yes.
correct, with Univision, and you even had your own show. I remember Sabor Latino.
Yes.
And as well as many other accomplishments in the world of media. And so, how did you get into real estate? What drove you to...
Well, actually, it started when I came to this country back in 2000. I started as an investor. And what was very interesting is that I'm very drawn to brands because of their reputation, right?
Correct.
And, I always want to associate with people who are trustworthy, because it's very important. And that's how I found Nick Sadek, right? I sat down and I want to say I interviewed, but that's not the right word. I talked to about 12 brokers. And when I sat down with Nick, I truly saw not only his professionalism, the experience in the profession itself, but how humble he is and how he treats other human beings. And that for me is key when you're talking to clients, when you're
Sure.
representing clients.
Sure.
And that's why I started working with Nick. And the rest is history.
It is. It's
And one of
history.
the things, George, that I love when he's selecting realtors is that, Sacramento is such a diverse city. It's one of the
We
most
are.
diverse cities in the nation. And he is he pays attention to the realtors he hires to the point that he wants to serve his clients, at a world-class level. Therefore, within our office, we have agents that speak, many languages. I think right now we have about 20 different languages.
Wow, that's
so
amazing.
So that we're
That's
able,
great.
absolutely, so that we're able to, if the client feels comfortable, obviously talking Spanish, then I can help. But we have many languages. We have Russian. You speak Arabic.
Right.
And this expansion that Nick just mentioned to Sacramento, actually, this is something he shared with me, was because of the demand. There are so many property owners who wanted to be represented by the Nick Sadek brand and the Sotheby's brand, that Nick decided to, because there's so many people wanting us to represent them and list
Right.
their homes, we're going to open a branch in Sacramento to service them better, and that's what
That's
he's doing.
great. And and that's there's two examples there that I really like. Number one, it's another example of the way you put your clients first, because it always has to be client centric. And because the same applies to lending, and it's another great example of the lengths that you go to provide that, and that's great. And I think that's what really makes you who you are. And then also, the way that you're expanding, it sounds like it's very, very organic growth, and that's important. That's important because you don't want to spread yourself out so thin that you start your customer service or what you provide starts to suffer, because you want to always give everybody that same level of of professionalism. They want to give them the same experience, because really that's what keeps us all in business. So that's really great that it seems like, the more and more we find out about you, the more and more we find out we were right. Everything we heard was right. And so, you have a tagline that I really love. What is that?
Luxury is an experience, not a price point.
Not a price point. I love
Yeah,
that.
because the Sotheby's brand, the Nick Sadek's brand, now that we have both brands combined, a lot of people think that we do not represent listings that are, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, and that is not right. We represent everyone because everyone deserves a luxury experience in real
And that's
estate, and that's what
amazing.
we bring to the table.
That's amazing. And I know for a fact from working with you that you do that at all price points.
Yes,
and that's
for sure.
and everybody deserves that.
For
And
sure.
I think they really appreciate that. And we're about getting ready to wrap up here, but before we do, I want to make sure everybody knows where to get a hold of you guys. If somebody was interested in luxury properties or had questions for you guys, I know you mentioned the website. You go ahead and do that again.
Sure. It's Nick Sadek, SIR.com. Nick Sadek, SIR.
SIR for Sotheby's International
Realty.
And there they can there's contact forms, there's there's properties there that you can look at. There's also a number, correct? I think it's the 877 Lux Estate. What's one of the things I love about the computer age is that phone numbers, we have these computer phones now. Everything's gone from landline to computers, so we can come up with these creative numbers that help people remember, and so that's 877 Lux Estate. And give us a call, and we're always here for you with lending questions, agent questions. Please give us a call. Keep us in mind. Thank you so much for tuning in again, and we hope to always provide you with the education and information that you need to help prepare you for your next big step in life. Thanks again. We'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
As well.